I basically said, all right, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need help. The most successful people in real estate are the ones that actually built a business around it. The life that you desire is on the other side of the thing that you fear the most. You need to run towards the fear. So you use 200 grand to buy $1 million asset. That is leverage. That is what really makes real estate work so well.
Welcome to the Captain Curt Show. I'm your host, Curt Marker, where we talk business, real estate, and building wealth that anybody can achieve a financial freedom lifestyle. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Captain Curt Show. I'm joined by special guest Kassidy Warren. We finally just met after being in a similar circle for a couple of years now, really. But Kassidy started out by renting his spare bedroom for $35 a night and has now built a $13 million real estate portfolio, as well as he's helping inspire people transform their lives in any which way they want to. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Curt. Excited to be here, dude.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You know, it's fun to, I've heard your name through a lot of different people and friends of ours, and it's finally nice to connect, you know?
Yeah, the world is a lot smaller than you think it is, right? Once you start leveling up and doing the things that we're doing and other people are doing, you realize that we're all connected a little bit more than maybe we think we are.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to entrepreneurs and people that just want more out of life, you respect other people that are doing the same thing. So it draws you to want to connect with them in a deeper level.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, when you start doing interesting stuff, more people pay attention.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, let's see. So you own currently a couple STRs, you have a hotel, and really your big item right now is your own podcast for your own good.
Yeah, I started the podcast with a desire to connect more with people because I had spent the last 5 or 6 years deep diving and investing in real estate. I was heads down, grinding, doing the work. I had started building my real estate portfolio by renting our spare bedroom out for $35 a night on Airbnb, way back in the day, 2015. We had a single bathroom in our condo at the time. And so we were sharing the bathroom with the guests, right? But that's what we needed to do, right? That's what we needed to do to get ahead, to get out of the trap of just paying your mortgage and reliving your same day over and over again. And so that was motivation enough to then go expand the portfolio and spend 5 years buying essentially 2 Airbnbs every year, self-funded. We had taken all of our consulting income, and funneled it into the real estate, managing contractors. Each deal was getting bigger and bigger, doing all the renovations, learning about cost segregation, tax benefits. And then I had kind of looked up and realized that I had created a job that I wasn't having that much fun in. I was burned out again after leaving corporate and then starting this real estate thing. I thought I had made it. I thought I had found it all, right? And really I had built a portfolio that I was really proud of, but also a life that was just exhausting, and my health was declining. My relationships were declining. I was in just such a negative headspace because of all of these negative things that I felt were happening to me. And so that's when I started sort of my self-improvement journey, which we can talk about. And then now the podcast, For Your Own Good, I'm super proud of. It's my purpose, and I'm using it to connect with more people and share the information that I didn't have access to when I was a kid or when I was growing up about a different way of doing things and pursuing your own purpose and finding your authentic self, so yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I encourage listeners to listen to yours. And I've heard a couple of them. How many episodes in are you now?
I think around 60 right now. Yeah. And so that was a goal, right? I was all right, most people give up. Most people give up after 10. I'm not going to do that. And so I started out doing 3 episodes a week. I travel all over the country to go get bigger guests, and I do some solo episodes. And so I was all right, I'm going to get as many reps in as I can and then get better each and every single time. And I've been doing some live audience ones, right, which I think are really cool. I think it's important to connect with your listener, connect with the audience. As we move towards AI and more things online, I think the differentiator is going to be connecting with people in real life, or at least bringing them into your world. And so I do a lot of live streams. I do a lot of live audience podcasts. And I'm going to continue doing that more and more to connect with people.
I love the live podcast idea. I see it's like a very newer thing. I've only seen a couple people do it, but I agree with you in the in-person relationship building is kind of what I'm looking for or what I want out of life, because experiences with family and friends and, work relationships or career relationships, whatever you want to call it, I think are like the most important things in life, really.
Yeah. And I realized when I got to like the last project that I was working on, the last house, which was the biggest, it created the most amount of wealth for us, but I was still like in a small world and I wasn't learning and I wasn't growing. So really I was like, I need something for myself. I need something where I'm going to expand and connect. And so the podcast is a way for me to go learn more and grow more through other people and bring these people into my world, because like, yeah, real estate's cool, but it's not the end all be all. You do a couple deals and you kind of learn the ins and outs. If you know the numbers and okay, this person's going to operate, this person's going to do this is how I'm going to make my money. You kind of learn real estate pretty quickly after you do a couple deals. I'm addicted to growth. I need to grow. I need to expand. So now I'm expanding by meeting new people, meeting more people, bringing in different subjects, different people. And I just want to expand my life and I want to expand the audience's life.
Yeah, I love your take on it. And I agree. And I mean, I've been in real estate for 10 years now. 2015, sounds like we started about the same time. But I bought a duplex, my first house, rented the other unit out. Lots of ups and downs with that. Some was great. And then, when someone starts paying you rent, it's a real big stressful thing to deal with. But I'm the same as you. As you start, even though you can do bigger deals in real estate, some are challenging, some are not, some are headaches you learn, but it's like, I'm the same way. I want more growth, personal growth, whether it's, and a lot of mine are like through relationships. And I think through podcasts, I got a tip from someone that has very successful podcasts. They're like, oh, I host my podcast to answer the questions that I want answered. And those are most likely questions that an audience wants answered. So he uses his podcast to interview someone that he wants to learn from. And I went, wow, I never thought about that. Like when I started this podcast, you think about, hey, just delivering to listeners. Yes, that's a part of it. But at the same time, we want to grow. So for me, I only do in-person podcasts. I've never done a Zoom. I get requests all the time, which is, great, I guess. But I go, oh, no, I only do in person.
I only do in person and I travel to go each of the big guests. Like I'm going to interview Mikey Taylor on Tuesday up in Thousand Oaks, pro skateboarder, turned real estate investor. I love his transformation, right? I'm really interested in understanding how he went from a pro skateboarder dealing with the blowback from becoming a talking head on YouTube and real estate investor, right? Being a punk rock skater to now being part of the system, right? I think that's really interesting. I'm really interested in transformations. I'm also willing to do what other people aren't. And I think that's something that most real estate investors, most entrepreneurs, most people in life that are stuck and want something, they're not willing to do what it actually takes to get done. And I go look at the best. I look at the greats. I study the greats. So in podcasting, Chris Williamson, Stephen Bartlett, Dax Shepard with Armchair Expert, I look and I study what they're doing and I go replicate that. And so I'm doing in-person video, I'm traveling, I'm going to do, like I said, the live audience podcast. I'm going to differentiate myself. I'm going to test, I'm going to try things, and I'm going to do what most other people are unwilling to do. Most people that start a podcast are doing it on Zoom. And they think that they just need to put episodes out and then they need to post clips and that's it. But me, I understand at a deeper level that this is about me and serving my audience. And so I'm going to go do whatever I can to go get more eyeballs, more people watching so that I can share my message and create connections with people all over the world.
And you make good points because there's a lot of people with podcasts now, right? And some of them are simple, but then the ones you see online, at least in my feed, are like Graham Stephan or like you said, Steven, they're putting out really good talking points that can change people's lives. It's usually not just a money thing or something so simple,
If I was smart, I would create a real estate podcast and use it as a funnel into a real estate fund. And that's all that I would do. If all I cared about was money, I would do a real estate podcast and I would have everyone listen and I would talk to people about real estate on every single episode and I would become the real estate guy. That's not who I want to become. That's not the fulfillment that I'm seeking. I do believe real estate will set people free. I believe pursuing your passion and your authentic self will set you free, but it is not the be all end all to creating the life that you desire. And so that's the mission, and that's the path that I'm on, is to free people, is to set them free from what they believe they have to do, and then go do what they are truly meant to go do, right? Because that's my journey. That's what I found. Growing up, I was always told, Kassidy, you're really smart. You are good with math. And then go to school, get good grades, get a college degree, get a job, that whole story. I mean, I was building computers when I was like in middle school, like 6th grade, I was building computers. And this is back in the 90s. So this was like unusual for a kid my age. I taught myself how to build websites. I was smart, right? Like I knew how to figure stuff out. I could naturally like create websites, just taught myself how to do that. But just because you got good at something, or just because you're good at something, does not mean that that's actually what you're meant to be doing, and does not mean that that's what you have to pursue, right? And so that's what I'm trying to teach people is we all have this deep down burning desire to go do something, but it's been suppressed. It's been pushed down. We've allowed society and our careers and our families and our debt and our consumption, right? We consume, we add complexity to our lives. And that dims and hides and suppresses the thing that we actually want to do, because we're not just sitting with ourselves. We're not just paying attention to what we actually want. And so I've gone through this whole reprogramming, and I'm here to share that with people so that they can go do the same for themselves.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I think you're right. You know, the system has raised us and trained us to try to go to college, right? That's a big deal. Then get a good job, work there for 30 years, have a 401k or a pension, and then do what you want when you're 55 to 65 years old. Some people don't make it that long. You know, cancer is I think cancer and heart disease are the 2 leading causes of death right now at all ages.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be in a trap like that, is kind of my inspiration as well.
I've seen so many people die after retirement. I've seen so many people die within a week, a month of retirement. When I worked at corporate, there were so many people that would retire and an email would come out a week later, a month later, 3 months later, that either them or their spouse died. I mean, it was shocking how often it happened. And I look at my parents, I look at my in-laws, I look at people all around me that grew up during that era, the boomers, basically, and their mobility issues, their mindset around money, how they spend it, where they go, what big looks like to them, what happiness and fulfillment looks like to them. And I'm not subscribing to that, right? I believe that we can live an integrated life. I believe that we can enjoy this life now. I believe if you think bigger and you expand your universe and you fully pursue your passion, that is going to attract everything that you've ever desired into your life, whether it's money or people, abundance, experiences, whatever it is that you want. If you go focus on that, you will get that. And life is too short. I cashed out my 401k to go build my real estate portfolio. I quit my job and cashed out my 401k to go buy real estate. People are unwilling to do what it takes to go live and pursue their dreams. I had to reach escape velocity to go build a portfolio so that now I can go live the life that I want. I spent 5 years grinding, hustling, building, and it sucked. At the end, it sucked, right? I was burnt out. But that 5 years, after I cashed out my 401k and funneled all my money into real estate, left me with a net worth and an amount of cash flow that I can go now make decisions. I can tell people no. I can say yes to myself. I can go do whatever I want, and I can pursue my passion now, which when I was building the real estate portfolio, that was my passion. I was like, I found the magic ticket. I found the golden ticket. You mean I can make a ton of money and pay zero in taxes and have cash flowing assets? Sign me up, right? And so now I've done that. I've learned that. Now I'm going to go fulfill myself, right? But I was willing to do what it took. And most people are not willing to do what it takes to go pursue their dream and their passion. People look at the 401k and they know that they have to pay 10% penalty on withdrawal. So what? You're just costing yourself an extra 10% on your real estate deal. It's nothing in the grand scheme of things when you're building cash flowing assets using leverage, right? And we can get into the velocity of money and we can talk about all that, but like people are so scared to do what it takes, including cash out your 401k and spend money and invest. They want a guaranteed return. People want a guarantee that their actions right now will result in what they're desiring. That's why real estate is so great, is because usually you can look at a piece of paper and you can look at the asset and you can say, I'm going to generally make about this much money on this thing, generally, for most deals. And so it's easy to put the money in and you got leverage and you got all that stuff. For everything else that you're doing, like we're talking about investing in our podcasts and the amount of money that you have to spend up front, the amount of money that you have to spend to go start a restaurant or another company or whatever your passion is, people aren't willing to do that because they want to spend the money and they want to get the return. They want to guarantee, but that's not how life works. Life needs you to invest in yourself and commit to the universe before you can get what you want out of it.
It's a great answer, and I agree. A lot of people get trapped. What personal obstacle taught you your most powerful lesson, and how did it turn into fuel?
It was at the end of the last project when I talked about being completely burned out. And I was looking at my contractor who I'd worked with so often, and I was experiencing the same frustration, the same situations over and over. It was like Groundhog's Day of learning the same lesson over and over, that he's taking advantage of me. He's using me as a bank account. This project is going to be twice as much as we budgeted because there's no other way. There's no other contractor. There's no other thing that I can do other than fire him and take the time to go find another contractor. And beyond that, I was, my wife and I were having troubles just because we were just work. And my health was declining. I was having vertigo issues. I was having stomach issues. I was not going to the gym. I was not working out, and I wasn't taking care of myself. There's pictures of me. I was like, who am I? I look like a freaking homeless bum. Like, cause I wasn't taking care of myself. I was waking up and I was like going straight to work and building this stuff and not taking care of myself. And so I basically said, all right, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need help. I need someone to help me. And so that's when, one, I started going to therapy, and then two, I found my business coach. And that was the first time I'd ever hired a business coach, because I came from the corporate world where you essentially have built-in coaching, built-in leadership stuff, right? Now, I didn't have that outside of the corporate world. And so I hired my first business coach, and that was Dan Martell. And it was back when he had like 50,000 followers, and he's got like 1.5 million or something on Instagram now. And so I was lucky enough to get like some more hands-on help, and getting a business coach, especially that caliber, reminded me of how great I am. It also reminded me of how much work I had to do. And so I spent the last 2 years essentially going through the work. And the thing that's really motivated me, the thing that continues to motivate me, is that almost every day, as I'm doing something that I'm uncomfortable with, I remind myself, I say it in my head all the time, this is where everybody else stops. This is where everybody else gives up. And so as you are starting something new, like a podcast or buying a real estate deal or quitting your job, whatever the thing is that you're trying to do or want to go do, if you can remind yourself that most everyone else gives up, even at the littlest things, like with the podcast, finding a VA or uploading your video files. There's people that get to that point where they recorded something, but they have trouble uploading a video file, and that's it. And that kills the entire podcast. That kills their entire dream, because that's where most people give up, is when it gets hard. And so like the desire for me to go find my full potential, find my 100%, is really what fuels me. So I turned the grinding burnout Kassidy potential into a life of fulfillment and purpose and ease potential. So how can I go fulfill my wildest dreams while also living a life that I love? And that's what helps fuel me. And that all came from Dan, and that came from my therapist, and the continued coaching that I do.
I mean, I agree. I think it's really great that you're living a life you want to live. And that's what everyone should be inspired to do. But they also have to kind of face themselves in the mirror and go, what am I doing wrong? And what could I be doing better? And I think it takes a team. I don't think you can really find that necessarily internally. You may go, hey, I like relationships. I like helping people. I personally like giving back. Sometimes I give back too much in the wrong areas and it sacrifices everything else. So it's kind of like finding a balance, and literally other people in my network or in my office or my business coach kind of help you get to the end goal and go, well, hey, if your goal is to live a good life with your family and give back and build relationships, focus on that. Stop working at the office 14 to 16 hours a day and you're stressed out. I gained 30 pounds over 5 years. And then I had kids 4.5 years ago. And personally, I think life changes when you have kids, or it should. It's, okay, hold on, I'm going to sell my nice boat. I want to really provide for my family. I bought a new family, like forever home. All these things you want to provide as a father. But then I put like you said, I put myself kind of on the back burner, but I was working too hard. And it was kind of a weird, somebody's like, are you happy? I'm like, yeah, I got 2 beautiful kids now, got a forever home. Like, I'm working, I'm making money. And then it kind of hit me. I'm like, I'm working way too hard. I'm way too stressed out. I'm not able to give back to my family as much as I am to everyone else. So I just shifted gears like literally a couple weeks ago. But you're right, where I was tired of being overweight in business for my own self, like the sports. I want to surf and I couldn't surf as well being overweight. And I'm like, I want to get back to life. So, but I think it takes looking in the mirror and then having a network to say, hey, you could make some changes. And now my network is like, wow, I can see the changes in 3 weeks. Yeah. And which is great to hear.
I mean, I can hear it. I can feel it just talking to you about everything. And the one thing that everybody can do to create a better life for themselves is to be completely selfish about where they spend their time and where they spend their energy. Only focus on yourself and become so focused on yourself that people start to wonder when you became so selfish. Because if you do not focus on yourself, but you're focused on others, even your own family and your job, your coworkers, your other network, your communities that you're a part of, whatever it is that you're doing, you are giving away your time and you're giving away your energy, and that is taking away from you and yourself and who you are, and you're creating a life that is not what you decided that you wanted to live. Focusing on yourself means only doing the things that bring you joy, only doing the things that get you closer to your goals. And part of your goals, especially if you have kids and a family, is to be present and focused when it's time to be with your family. At the same time, if you're focused on yourself and you're only doing the things that light you up and bring you joy and get you closer to your goals, everyone else is watching. You are a lighthouse. You are an example of how it is to live. And that means being your truest, most authentic self, but you have to take care of yourself first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you want to help others, if you want to serve others, if you want to live the life and have the businesses, you have to start 100% focusing on yourself. And a lot of times what that means, number one, only do things that bring you joy. Make time for the surfing, make time for the paddleboarding, make time for the mountain biking, make time for rest. Whatever your rest is, first thing, make time for that. And the way that you do that is you subtract. So as you grow, the only way you can grow is by saying no. You can only say yes to things that light you up or bring you closer to your goals. You have to say no to everything else. And that also means unwinding existing commitments, unwinding existing relationships, unwinding everything that does not bring you joy and does not get you closer to your goals. That also means not doing things like cleaning the house, like going and getting groceries, really paying attention to where you're actually spending all of your time and all of your energy, and either eliminating it or delegating it or hiring somebody to help take it off of your plate. So many times as entrepreneurs, we get stuck at a certain level because we're used to just taking everything on ourselves in all areas of our life. We're the provider, we're the husband, we're the father, we're the boss, we're the business owner. Everything comes to us and stops at us, and we're the final decision maker. The only way to live the life that you want is to get out of that mode and move up a level. And the way that you move up a level is by subtracting things out of your life and hiring people to come into your life to take those off of your plate. You mentioned just like wanting to get all the things done. We can get everything done that we want if you give yourself enough time and if you find the right people. I used to be riddled with anxiety, rumination, open loops. And that would plague me throughout the day. I was so focused on everything else that needed to happen that I wasn't focused on myself. And what I realized was I was trying to get too much done. I was taking too much on myself. And actually, and there's a book, it's called Who Not How. I needed to go find somebody who's an expert at either administrative tasks, like an executive assistant. I need a project manager. I need a content director. I need people that love to do the stuff that I do not like doing. Go find the people that can take things off of your plate. And if you say I can't afford it, well, then you probably don't have a big enough business. And that's what a lot of people don't want to admit. And it's hard in real estate if you're doing long-term rentals and you're making $100 a month and you're like, I can't afford an assistant. And like, yeah, you probably can't because you're in the wrong business, right? You have to go bigger. You have to go bigger and you have to think bigger. And so many people get stuck in the small thinking of I can only do this. But a lot of that comes from because you put so much on your plate that we haven't even begun to be able to expand and think about what it is that we can actually do. And so focusing on yourself, subtraction of everything else in your life, I think, is what will ultimately allow you to sit and realize what it is that you actually want to do.
What mindset shifts helped you break out of the small thinking?
It was putting myself in proximity to people that were great at what they do. So that was my mentors, my coaches, being around people like you. Basically, there was something that my mentor said to me. He said, nobody knows who you are. And I was like, well, yeah, they do. But he was right. Nobody knows who I am. And then I also started thinking about, well, why is that? Well, it's because I'm afraid to put myself out there. Well, why am I afraid to do that? It's because I don't feel like I'm worthy of receiving everything that I want, or I'm putting other people on a pedestal, or I can't do that because I don't know, right? And then when you sit in that rumination and those thoughts, it prevents you from being able to go and think any bigger. When you put yourself around people and environments where they're thinking massively, when you're the dumbest person in the room, when you're the least experienced in the room, and you sit and you listen, you ask good questions, you realize how much bigger this life is. There's a video of mine that went viral with Rich Summers about if you're waiting in line at Costco gas, you're a brokey. And man, they really get triggered on that because people are like, well, no, I need to save money on gas. Like, where else am I going to go? This is how life, it's on the weekend or I go early. If you're trying to save $3 on a tank of gas, even $20 on a tank of gas, you're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking big enough. The world is so big. The world is so expansive. But if we're thinking so microscopically and we're thinking just, oh, what's the next thing I need to do? What's the next thing I need to do? What's the next thing I need to do? And what we need to do is we need to pull back and we need to say, what do I really want to be doing with my life? Do I really want to be sitting in this line at Costco gas? That's not to say that I don't wait in line for gas at all, but I really stop and think about, how is this making me feel? Do I really want to be doing this? And how do I then create a bigger, more expansive life?
Yeah, that's great. What's one belief or principle that you hold that most people would disagree with?
This one's on the real estate side. I think cash flow is the least valuable part of an asset. Cash flow is the least valuable part of investing in real estate. So I teach this concept about velocity of money, and there's essentially 4 accelerators to the velocity of money. Cash flow is not an accelerator for velocity of money. There are assets where you can get really great cash flow, but when you add up everything in an investment, so when you add up the forced appreciation, even the principal pay down, the amount of equity that you get from raising money and the tax benefits, cash flow is like the least valuable out of all of those. It may be different depending on the situation that you're in, but I don't look for investing for cash flow. There's even markets and assets where you could lose money every month and it's still a better investment than one that produces cash flow every month. So with the velocity of money, the 4 accelerators, the first 2 I think are really the most powerful. The first one is leverage. With real estate, you get to lever a bank's money. You get to use other people's money, and you get to buy an entire asset for a fraction of the price, right? So if something's worth $1 million, you're buying it for $1 million, you can put 20% down. So you use $200,000 to buy $1 million asset. That is leverage. That is what really makes real estate work so well. And then when you couple that with the next accelerator, which is forced appreciation, where you take the asset, you improve it, and it's worth more money. Well, you only put 20% of the value into it, but the entire value went up. And so like the return on your money is so much greater using leverage and forced appreciation. And so when you do that, and that's the model that we've used in the past, is essentially doing like luxury flips on short-term rentals. That's how you create wealth. You don't create wealth by generating just cash flow alone. And then when you bring in the tax benefits side of it, cost segregation, depreciation, and you're paying 0 taxes, and you have cash flowing assets, or maybe they're not even cash flowing, but at least they've appreciated over time, then that's how you build long-term wealth. So cash flow is the least valuable part of real estate.
Yeah, and I agree. I think all my projects, like we don't even barely look at cash flow besides the hotel. And even then, all it is for me is, appreciation play. Mm-hmm. That's it. How do we buy this hotel for $7 million, put $3 million in? When can we sell it for $17 million? That's our target on that hotel. So 5 to 10 years, depending on how the asset performs. But it's like, I want to sell that thing as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Like we're already operating it. I'll take $17 million now for it. But we have to allow it to operate at a higher level for a couple of years to bring the value up.
Yeah. And so when I say cash flow is the least, I mean what you're left over with at the end. Like on commercial real estate, you need cash flow to be able to value at the valuation that you need, of course, and the cap rate and all that. But if you're investing to get a monthly check, that's not really the way that you make money in real estate. The way that you make money in real estate is you leverage, you force value, and you trade up. That's it. If you follow that formula, you're going to create wealth in real estate. And so that's what the other great thing about real estate is that you can start at any point. You can be in like one of the worst neighborhoods, and if all you can afford is a little junker, but you can force value and trade up, that's how you win the game. You trade up, trade up, trade up, trade up, trade up. And that's the other part of the velocity of money and the opinion that I hold that others don't is you should be selling your real estate. You can refinance, sure, but if you sell, you get to collect all the proceeds, and you can then take all of those proceeds and go put it into a higher return asset. And so for most real estate, you have squeezed all of the value out of it within the first 5 years. Because one, if you're forcing appreciation and then you're using 2 to 3 years of cash flow to get the value that you want, that's 3 years, right? So in the first 3 years, it's usually worth the most it's going to be worth based on you improving it and increasing the cash flow. And so then it's valued higher. And then the tax benefits. When you cost segregate and depreciate, you use most of the tax benefits within the first 5 years. There's a little bit of depreciation left over after that, but really it's a 5-year cycle. And so after 5 years, you need to look at, well, what did I make on this, or what could I make if I sell it versus how much money am I making every month? It's basically a return on equity, and go sell that thing. Go sell it and then go trade up into an even higher value asset, or you could do multiples. And I am actually not a fan of the 1031 exchange. So if you sell something in the beginning of the year, you can do a 1031 or a lazy 1031 exchange. If you sell something in the beginning of the year, you can do what's called a lazy 1031, where you don't do an actual 1031 exchange and you just take all your proceeds and you go buy something before the end of the year, and you can cost segregate and depreciate that and avoid paying any taxes. And you get a longer timeline to go find something. What people don't realize about a 1031 exchange is, one, you only have 45 days to go identify a property. If you do not find a property in 45 days, they hold on to your money for that entire 6-month period. You don't get your money back after 45 days if you don't find a property with a 1031. And so if you sell a property as a 1031 and you don't identify a new property, you don't get your cash until 6 months later. Let's say you do find a property, but you're under that 45-day deadline. With a 1031 exchange, they're forcing you to find something in 45 days. And most investors with a 1031 exchange do not make a good purchase on a 1031 exchange because they're forced in that 45-day period. I would rather buy a better asset than be forced to buy something in 45 days. So when we sell our properties, usually we do not 1031.
Yeah, I don't think I've even done a 1031. I looked at them, but I didn't want to be forced to buy another property, mostly because the profit was like 200 grand. I just pay the taxes. It's fine. I want to use that money right away. So that money's sitting in my account for my next deal, but I wasn't forced to find and locate one in 45 days.
Yeah.
And guess what? That was 90 days ago. So I didn't have the stress of, oh man. And really with a 1031, you're just pushing off the taxes to a later date. So I might as well just pay him now and be all the way out of that property and no tax due on that, right? So what separates someone who tries real estate and someone who succeeds in it long term?
Someone that goes deep on their niche. How many people have you met that are a real estate agent and they have long-term rentals, they have short-term rentals, they do partnerships, they have a construction arm, they have a coaching program, they run a syndication. Like these real estate investors that have all these different things are just juggling a bunch of balls in the air and not making a lot of money, right? And so I think for anyone, and this is true in real estate or entrepreneurship or anything, for anyone to be truly successful in real estate, you need to go deep in whatever it is that you want. We chose short-term rentals. We got so good at short-term rentals and our specific model of doing heavier construction, basically a luxury flip to a short-term rental. And we got great at the hospitality. We got great at the technology. When you focus on one thing, this is the other biggest problem with people's ability to be successful is focus. If you can just focus on one thing forever and ever and over, not forever and ever, but if you can focus on one thing every day, every week, every month, you will beat your competition tenfold, right? Most real estate investors are only looking at making a quick buck, most. The people that go deep are the ones that become extremely successful. Another way to become extremely successful that most real estate investors don't do is build a business of buying real estate. Most investors go buy a deal here, a deal there, deal. You know, the most successful people in real estate are the ones that actually built a business around it. So wholesaling, not something that I'm very interested in. It's just not where my skill set lies or anything that I'm really excited about doing. But I've got a buddy up in Washington. He built a wholesaling business. He hired setters, he hired lead gen, he invested in the technology, he bought an office, he trains people. He generates like 250 grand a month in wholesale fees just because he built an actual business around it. And so how do you create a business where you get leads, you process those leads, and you create deal flow and you invest in real estate? Like Ryan Pineda, he created businesses around his real estate, right? But it's bigger. And so people are scared to do bigger. They understand, oh, I can look at this one deal and I can go buy this one deal. I can do this one thing over and over again. I can buy a hotel or a short-term rental and I can pick the tile, I can do the renovate, I can do that, versus how do I step back and look at this from a business perspective? If most people in real estate tried to create a real estate business, they would be more successful. It would just take longer than they're willing to give it to do that. And it's above their skill set currently.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How do you approach fear when leveling up to a bigger, larger investment?
The life that you desire is on the other side of the thing that you fear the most. You need to run towards the fear. You need to run towards and sprint and like push through the fear. The fear is telling you that it's what you're meant to do. It's your gut saying, shit, this is what I need to do. This is the one thing that's standing in my way from really being successful, from really making it to the next level. And so for me, it was learning how to hire. I knew that I had to become a better leader, a better person. My mindset had to change. The way I talked to people had to change. How I showed up for myself had to change so that I could attract and hire the best people to help me run my business. It's very easy to say, I'm just going to do it myself and I'm going to make this amount of money and I'm just going to fill my days with tasks because that's what's comfortable. When you start to actually look at yourself and analyze what you want and think about your future, and here's how I help myself getting through every day and all the resistance and the fear. I think about what my future self would do. So if I have a vision of my life and what I want, and I've got the boat and I've got the cars and I'm doing the live podcasts and I've got the easy days and I'm with my family and I've got the private jet and you're flying it, Curt. And I'm calm, I'm strong, I'm confident, I'm my future self. When I envision that and I channel my future self, I ask myself, what would future Kassidy do in this situation? So I'm confronted with a decision. I'm scared, I'm fearful, I'm resistant. What would future Kassidy do? And most of the time he would fucking just go do it. And he would push past the fear because he's already doing that stuff. And the only way to get to the thing that you want is to do the things that are required. And usually those are the things that you're most afraid of doing.
Yeah, and I think what I've learned by working on my mindset the last, 5 or 10 years, I've always been a confident person, but fear is a mindset. It is an emotion as well, but it's really blocking your mindset. So for me, when I'm I'm a new flex-based developer. So when I go, well, you kind of just get past the fear to look at the end result. Well, these aren't that hard. These other people that are doing it are not any smarter than me. They just have more experience doing it. And people that start building homes, they have to start with one. So I think working on a mindset and approaching, even if it's an investment, a new job, asking for a promotion or a raise, I tell people that all the time. What are you afraid of? They're not going to fire you. If you say, hey, I've been working really, really hard, I feel like I should get rewarded and ask for a raise, the worst thing they're going to say is no. They are not going to fire you. And people have that fearful mindset of going after what they truly want. And I think once somebody can break past that and get in the right mindset and saying, no, I deserve this, and you have confidence in it, you'll figure it out.
Most people have not done the work to build the confidence in their commitment to themselves. I believe that most people are afraid of taking that next step because they believe that they are going to have to hold themselves to a higher standard and that they can't keep that standard because they haven't built the habits around being that new version of themselves. For example, I go to the gym 5 days a week and then do something else like trail run or run the other 2 days. So I go to the gym 5 days a week. That is a habit of me showing up for myself every single day. And so when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I've built the confidence inside of myself because I know that I keep the commitments. And so when people look at this next level and this next version of themselves, they haven't yet created the systems or the habits where they keep commitments to themselves. And so they don't have confidence in their own word. And so now they're saying, well, I have to go do this thing, but I'm not confident I'm going to be able to go do it because I'm going to have to hold myself to a higher standard. And so we stop, we pull back. And most people don't even go tell others their dreams or their goals because they're afraid that they're going to have to go achieve them. This whole idea of fear of failure is actually fear of success because you now have to go do the thing that you said you're going to do. We know that we are powerful people. We know that when we say something out loud, that it's going to come true. And so we don't say it out loud. And then once you do say it out loud, a lot of times we go wishy-washy on it. We say, oh, well, I wish I could go invest in real estate. I wish I could do this. Maybe someday I want to. I help people reframe their language to say, I am a real estate developer. I am building homes. I do have a podcast, as if you're already living in that state. And when you say things like that, that is you projecting your future into the present right now. And that's how you start to keep commitments to yourself, is you actually just go tell people what you're doing. And then they'll help keep you accountable. And if they don't, you're hanging around the wrong people. But we're so afraid to even say that stuff out loud because we believe that we're going to have to become a different person. And you will, but you're going to have to live your life no matter what. So do you want to live it in the mediocrity, in the middle, and the life unfulfilled? Or do you want to go hold yourself to a higher standard and actually live a life where you feel happy, fulfilled, and you're achieving?
Yeah, it's going to force them to grow.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened to me. So when somebody asks you about development things or, that I don't know, well, hold on, I have a director of development on my team. I'd ask them, or I'd ask my builder. You don't have to know it all either. You build a team and a network around you, and having that open mind to not know everything. I think when you're a new entrepreneur or something, you think you got to know everything. You think you got to control it all. And then as you grow and you meet other people that are way ahead of you, you realize, wow, they don't know it all, but they know the person to call to help get that answer.
If you can move from a know-it-all into I know someone, that's how you become successful. Go look at the most successful people in your life or who you look at online. Most of the time, they are leveraging other people's experience. But the way they got there is they added value into their life. They started doing something really interesting. They provided help or assistance or value in this other person's life. And then they were able to get access and create a relationship, whether it's peer or friends or mentor or whatever. And that's how you do it. So many people are still in their old friend group from middle school, high school, college, just because that's who you met and that's who you connected with. But I like to do a proximity audit where I audit who I'm in proximity to. And it's different areas of my life, right? It's not just the real estate. It's not just business. It's who am I connecting with? Who is a spiritual leader that I can look to? Who can help me in terms of therapy? Who can help me in terms of a new space, technology, fitness? So I have coaches in business, real estate. I consider my therapist a coach. I have another spiritual coach, and then I have a fitness coach. And then as I progress, do I need to go get different coaches? Who's in my life that is draining energy from me? Where do I have a gap in my skill set? Where do I have a gap in my knowledge? What circle do I want to get into, right? Do an audit and score yourself on each of these different areas of your life that you value, and then go find the people that will help you increase the score of these people in your life, or increase the score of, you in these areas of your life.
What's a typical day in your life right now from sunrise to sundown?
Great question. I've done so much work at Subtraction and focus on my calendar. I live by my calendar and I focus everything around my energy. And so I did the perfect day, perfect week exercise through my business coaches. And I encourage everybody to do this. Take 5 minutes and just whatever even comes to mind. What does your perfect day look like? What does your perfect week look like? And then go look at what you're actually doing, and does any of that fit in with what you're doing today? And so I've structured my calendar around my energy. And so most days, well, I'll start here. Every day I do what's called win the morning. And this is my morning routine that I have found over time is the best for me. And I encourage everybody to have a morning routine that works for them, that makes them feel great. You don't have to do everything under the sun. You don't have to do all the cold plunges and all the journaling, and it doesn't even need to take an hour. Do 1 to 3 things in sequence after you wake up that make you feel great, where you feel like you won the morning. And so for me, I do a little bit of breath work. I read 10 pages out of a book every single day. I do my journaling that I do. And then most of the time I will do my 5 connections, where I reach out to 5 different people, and it's either, hey, how's it going? I've been thinking about you. Here's something that I think would be great for us or you, or it's just a gratitude text or gratitude email or whatever it might be. And so that's my morning, every morning, those things that I do. And then I go to the gym 5 days a week, or I'm doing some other level of fitness. And then usually there's a 3 to 4 hour block of time of deep focused work around all of my aligned actions. So my aligned actions are the 1 or 2 most important things that I need to work on that day, that week, which line up with what is the most important thing that I need to be doing this month, this quarter this year. So if I've got a goal of getting to 1 million YouTube subscribers, what am I doing today in this 4-hour block of time that is going to get me closer to getting 1 million YouTube subscribers? And I have a way of like breaking that down. And there's a book called The One Thing that everybody should read. And that's kind of where I got that. And then usually I am either getting steps, going on a walk, a break for some level of fitness or outdoor activity, paddleboarding, mountain biking, something like that. I have call blocks throughout the week. Fridays are usually my lighter days. Those are going to be the days for like manifesting and creating and that sort of stuff. And then there's time on Tuesdays for recording content. And I'm going to be continuing to like evolve this calendar and schedule as I change how the podcast and all my investments work out.
Yeah, so a fairly structured calendar, and something I've learned. I do a little bit of it myself, but my schedule changes so much with flying private jets. But I have a similar where my day is kind of consistent with yours. I get up early. I basically go to the gym first thing when we have a highest testosterone level of the day, and then I do all my hard work after breakfast. So 9 a.m. And this is advice that I got from like billionaire clients that I fly over a topic where they share sometimes without me asking, or then I can ask them questions. And they said they hit their hardest tasks in the morning, 8 or 9 a.m. before, like when the kids go to school or whatever they're doing. And so then I leave my afternoons open, kind of do a healthy lunch, and whether it's a podcast, or I leave the afternoon to where maybe my brain doesn't have to think as hard. I'm a little bit more creative sometimes, maybe that 1 to 3 p.m. And then after that, for me, it's kind of shut it down. You know?
Yeah. If you have a schedule where you give away your energy and time in the beginning of the day, then you're going to get to the end of the day not having accomplished the one thing that you need to do. How much better would you feel right now is if you got the one thing done at the very beginning of the day and you won the day, and you did that every single day. But we put too much pressure on ourselves to get 100 things done. But how often have we gotten to the end of the day and say, shit, I didn't even do the one thing that I was supposed to do today, because we have too much going on and we don't structure our calendar. The other thing that I am doing around my calendar is I'm honoring my calendar. If I put it in there and I do it for a block of time, I am sitting down and I'm doing that. And I'm catching myself now where I'm supposed to be working and doing things, and I'm like, oh, I'm over time, or I'm under time, or I spent time on social media scrolling or answering texts when I'm supposed to be deep focus work, and I'm supposed to be writing or creating or reaching out to guests. One of the things about fear that's come up for me recently is reaching out to bigger guests. So as I've thought about this more, if I want 1 million YouTube subscribers, I need to get bigger guests on my podcasts. And so I need to go sit down and I need to put a block of time in my calendar to reach out to bigger guests. And I found that like I'm sitting there procrastinating because I'm afraid to go do it. Right. But then now I'm like, I need to honor my calendar. I need to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm writing names in my calendar invite so that when I get there, I'm on my calendar invite. I said I'm going to reach out to bigger guests. I have names in there. Guess what I'm doing? I'm reaching out to those specific people. And if it takes me that whole hour and I only get through 3, fine. But I'm doing it. And as long as we're okay with small, consistent actions, that's how we're going to be successful. But honoring your calendar, using your calendar around your energy, creating space for yourself, and allowing some flexibility to go have fun and be with the kids. The other thing that it's done for me is, I don't have kids myself, but 2 of my nephews are living with us right now, and they're under 2 years old. I'm absolutely in love with them. It's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And when I'm with them, I'm with them. I'm present. I'm doing it. And then that's allowed me to focus more on the work when it's work time too, right? So if I'm going to be present for those kids and my family, I'm 100% there. I'm 100% present, which means that when it's work time, it's work time. And you got to go heads down. You can't let all this other stuff be distracting you.
I think that's a big shift for me is when I was flipping homes and doing mobile home parks and a lot of the other higher demand, higher communication real estate projects, I found my phone just kind of ringing all day, all night. So if the kids would come home the one kid would come home from school and he wanted to play, my phone would ring at 4, 4:30, 4:45, 6, 7. Some of them are bank calls and this and that. And I mean, the girlfriend started hating it, the kid, and I go, man, but this is how I'm making a lot of money, or like doing this for the family. And that's what drove me away from residential. Like you talked about earlier with contractors, there may be some good ones on here, But the majority of them in residential, they're hard to work with. They usually have 10 jobs going at once, not one job to finish yours. They'll come and work a couple hours. Then all of a sudden the people are gone if you're not on site and you're like, where'd you guys go? And then they got 10 other jobs because they're trying to do it all. In commercial, I don't find that so. Even though they may have 2 jobs going, they're not leaving your job site to go do another. They're like, hey, we're going to get your grading done and doing this and pour the concrete slabs in 3 weeks. Then we're going to pause for 3 weeks and wait for the building to be delivered. And then that's when they're doing their other projects. So going bigger, even though there's fear to it, it has opened up my calendar way more. Also because I feel like you need it's not a bigger team, it's a better team. So there are like 4 people on my team now. One is a financial expert. One is a director of development who's been developing for 20 years. I'm the CEO, which is really just the glue. I brought in the banker and everything else. So it's like, it's a team sport. But my phone rings way less.
I want people to hear what you just said, because when you go bigger, it's actually easier. And residential is such a low barrier to entry. Part of the reason is that anyone with a truck and a hammer can usually become a contractor, right? It's a low barrier to entry for that type of work. Becoming a real estate agent, pretty low barrier to entry. But to move into commercial and these bigger deals and more expensive deals, everyone has to level up usually, or the people that are great are the ones that are more attracted to the better deals, right? That's just how life works. The A players want to work with other A players. And so become an A player so that you can attract A players and work on the A player deals. Right? Go work on deals where all the A players want to be a part of. Work on the most interesting stuff. Work on the bigger number deals. Things get easier because the people usually get better. And actually, the work becomes easier, even though big commercial buildings might look complex. It's actually less complex because it's so big and it's hard to understand and it's hard to communicate what that actually means and what that is. One way on storage and hotels, if you have 2 room types, a king and a double queen, but you've got 100 rooms, you basically just design 2 rooms and it applies to the whole dang hotel, right? That doesn't happen with residential. Every room is different. Every square inch is different. Every house is different. Every foundation, every city, every municipality, every sewer, every utility, every single freaking thing is different. And that causes so much chaos and headache. And then the people that you're working with usually are not A players. And no offense to anyone out there, but because it's easier to do and a lower barrier to entry, that attracts people that may not be the A players.
Yeah, and the scalability of going bigger is more simple, just like you said. So instead of designing, if you bought 5 residential houses, right, and that's a lot of design work. Where if you had, 5 commercial properties, some of them are like all the same units. If they're all like 1 bedroom, 1 bath hotels, right? You could literally design all the rooms the same, and maybe you're just hanging a couple different pictures on the wall. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And some of the rooms, like I think we might only have 2 or 3 designed rooms in 8 buildings in ours, but we hired professionals to design it. We weren't racking our brains. I'm actually pretty good at the design. I designed all our flips and got a lot of good feedback. But my partner at the time handled all the construction stuff. So my job on flips was the design work, And so I think people are also afraid to partner maybe, and they want to do it only themselves. And I feel like a lot of people get started, they buy the one rental property, which is great. It's a great way to start. Go get your feet wet, buy one on your own. You're forced to do it by yourself, but then you're going to learn good and bad. Maybe it's too much work. Maybe there's too much risk. But I do think it's hard to just jump into commercial deals. You really got to have an expertise to bring something to a partnership, which it's happened with my CFO. Like, he's invested in some funds, which is great, but he's like, I've done a bunch of stuff. I've raised $100 million. I help businesses go to the next level and sell. And I'm like, hold on, you have a ton of financial experience. I will help you learn some of these commercial development stuff. And I go, just get on every single call. And so I'm learning from him. He's learning from me. So he's someone that never flipped a home, never even owned a home, I don't believe. And he is able, because of his experience, to jump right in and add a value to some company like mine.
Yeah, and if you're new, or maybe you only have residential, and this applies to anyone that wants to level up, go find the people that are doing what you want to do. Get into their community, get into their group. A lot of times you have to pay for time or pay for advice or pay for whatever. take their advice and follow up with them. Go execute on what they told you to go do and follow up with them and tell them. That's you showing up and proving that you can add value, because most people will not take advice of more successful people and then go follow up. But if you can show up, ask great questions, take their advice and follow up, you will then start to be drawn into their world and get access to them and be able to at least learn and get more involved, if not partner. But the other thing I want to say about that is a lot of times people look at influencers or people that are doing bigger things and they want to work with those people. I want people to not think that way. You can have goals of working with someone. Let's say you want to work with like a big music producer, like you want to get, you want to work with Rick Rubin and have him, create a song for you. You should have that as a goal. But what you should really be doing is you should building up your own thing. You need to build your own ecosystem, your own network, your own people by doing really interesting things. We think that these other people are going to save us, when in reality, what's going to save us is taking on the accountability and responsibility and building something that we can be proud of. And that's when your people begin to appear. That's when your people start to come into your ecosystem.
Let's dive into your podcast before we wrap it up here shortly. I know you touched on it a little bit of why you started, what you're doing differently, but what do you want people to walk away with after listening to your podcast?
Yeah, so it's a mixture of guest episodes and solo episodes. So there's going to be partly a transformation that can occur if you listen to like a lot of my solo stuff, where I talk about stepping into your power, success habits, consistency, right? So there's that piece of it. And then there's going to be the guests that I have on that are entrepreneurs, they're founders, they're creators, and most of them have some sort of transformation, or they've figured out a way to do something that's different than other people. They have a contrarian opinion. And so what I want is I want people to hear their stories, how they do things, and I want them to go recognize where they can be making some improvements in their lives or do things different, and hear these stories of people that maybe started from nothing and decided to go all in on themselves. So that's sort of the theme of For Your Own Good, is these are things that you need to hear that are for your own good. Maybe they're building you up, and maybe they're things that like sting a little, but they're exposing you to new ways and new ideas of doing things.
What's been your biggest surprise from podcasting about your guests or yourself?
How much I enjoy it. So when I'm interviewing people, I'm like in flow state, and how kind of natural and easy it comes. And this is going to sound kind of bad, but like maybe the lack of prep that I need to do, because I can connect with the guests so much, and because I can ask great questions, and because there's a story there and I allow the guests to tell their story and I dig deeper. So a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that I've been able to draw out more from the guests than they've ever experienced before on other podcasts. And so that's a big compliment to me, because that's my goal, is to go deeper, create an experience for the audience. But really it's been like just the feeling of being in flow state while recording these podcasts.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. What's one decision that took your life or business to a whole new level? And maybe it scared you.
Well, it's a couple things. The decision to invest in myself was what changed everything for me. I've spent over $100,000 in the last year on coaching and the things around coaching and communities. And that has completely transformed my life. And it did scare me because of the amount of money that I was spending, and because now I'm committed to doing the work. And I would not be sitting here talking to you. I would not be able to even articulate these things without having gone through this work. And so my life has changed, where I was able to quit my corporate job. I even gave up my consulting job, my consulting business, where I was making high six figures with high margins, right? Because it's just a service-based business. I gave up that stuff in pursuit of going after my dreams. And I haven't reached 1 million subscribers on YouTube yet. I don't have 10,000 downloads a month on my podcast yet, but I'm currently living in the life that I've always desired. And I see that it's going to continue to grow. And I feel what it feels like to not live a life of regret. Because if I do not go after what I want to do, I will live a life of regret, and I will continually wonder what could have happened. And so me investing that $100,000 in myself is what changed everything. And I hope it turns into $500,000, and I hope it turns into $1 million, and I hope it turns into $10 million over time. And I hope that I can be a lighthouse for other people, and that they'll look at me and I can be a permission slip for them to go live the life that they wanted to live.
Powerful. Thanks for sharing. Couple last questions. What kind of legacy are you trying to build, and who's it for?
When I talk on podcasts and when I create content, there's about 10 people, real people that I'm talking to. I have a list of these people. I have their names. They're friends, family, and enemies. I don't want to call them enemies, but people that I love, people that I want to see succeed, and people that I have a huge heart for that I feel need to hear what I have to say. And so my legacy is for me to be a lighthouse, like I just talked about. My legacy is for me to show people what's possible, that I came from an environment of scarcity, of low self-worth, of false confidence, of doing what society told me, of following the path and feeling unfulfilled, but going all in on myself. And I'm just like an average guy that decided to live his dreams and decided to talk about this stuff and share this stuff. And so my legacy that I hope for is that my words will reach, young Kassidy and all the young Kassidys out there that need to hear this stuff. And it inspires them to go do what they want to go do, because I believe that if we all lived in our truth and if we all did what we were meant to do in our true purpose, that would be the thing that sets us all free, and the whole world would be better for it. Am I going to change the world? I don't know. But I know that I have people in my life that were lighthouses, and they changed my life. So,
yeah, if you could change people and not the whole world, that's a really good life to live.
Yeah.
Give good advice. And I think people like you and I that are always growing, we're learning, and all the time. I'm always learning. And I like sharing that with people. And like you said before, maybe my old crowd or high school friends are still great people, but they're not necessarily the business people or the growth people. Those aren't the circle I run with. We hang out maybe once in a while, but those aren't the people that want to hear about the growth. So once somebody kind of changes their circle or joins a community, like we have both joined different ones, everyone that's in the community that I pay for, because we pay for it, they're all like-minded. And we're all at a little bit of a different level. And when I joined a business community, it's a real estate focused one, but it's about business. I thought I was the small guy. And I mean, you had to interview to get in, which I actually like, because he goes, no beginners. We're not here to coach. We're here to all work together and grow. And it was very interesting to me. And he liked my background. I'm like, wow, I guess I've kind of done a lot. But if you can go into that in a community or a group or a network and change one life or two based on something you say or learn and you share it, I think that's pretty valuable and pretty selfless, let's say.
Exactly. And I mean, even just sharing this stuff on the podcast, I hope that it reaches one person and they hear it and they want to get in touch, or they want to learn more or grow more. And even if I don't ever hear from them, that's fine too, right? Because by sharing and doing this, I'm hoping that it touches people and that they actually go and live a better life.
Yeah. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, best places on Instagram. I'm at Kassidy.Warren. And then on my podcast is For Your Own Good. It's on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube is my name, Kassidy Warren. And you'll find all my videos and episodes on there. But yeah.
We'll put those all in the show notes for you guys that want to connect. But two last quick questions. I always ask my guests for two books that really changed their life. You shared the one thing, so we'll say that's one, because that's a solid one.
Yeah.
Do you have another book? I'm
going to give you two. I know you asked for one, but I'm going to give you two. Yeah. Be Your Future Self Now. That is all about becoming your future self right now. And it's kind of a intellectual concept, but read that book. And then 10X is easier than 2X, where 2x thinking, which is our normal everyday small thinking, is way harder. It's that residential contractor small house versus 10x thinking, which is thinking bigger. And those two books absolutely changed how I think and how I operate. So yeah, go out and read those.
I love it. I'll throw those in the show notes for you guys too. All right, one final thought to leave the audience with.
You are a result of all of the habits and decisions that you have made up to this point. The life that you're living, the calendar that you have, the people that you're interacting with, the places that you go, the things that you do, how you feel every single day is a result of every decision and action that you've taken up to this point in your life, which means that you are in control of exactly how you feel, how you live, and what you do. And if you want something different, all it takes is for you to change your habits, change your beliefs, change your mind, and change your actions. And so go out there, figure out what it is that you want, and take massive action every single day. Do not be afraid. Step into the fear and take massive action.
Love it. Loved having you on the show. Hope you guys liked this week's episode with Kassidy. Deep conversation on personal growth. I loved it. Make sure you like, subscribe, submit a review, help us reach more people, and check out Kassidy's podcast For Your Own Good. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.